What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So we are about to break down the entire market over 20 pairs using fxalexg set and forget strategy. So follow me here. I'm going to break down all these pairs. Then you see my thought process behind this market, and let us choose the best that will probably be making us money next week. So let's go over to my screen right now. All right, coming over to my screen right now. Let's start with NZD card, right? So NZD card is a trade I took last week. I'm not even kidding. This trade, I'm not even kidding. This trade took 4 days, by the way, and still ended up at break even, right? I held this trade for the entire 4 days, right? As you can see right here, 4 days and 8 hours, 4 days and 12 hours, and it's still pretty much at break even, right? And then I asked you guys on the Telegram, what will you do in this market, or what should I do, right? I don't know why I cannot see it here, but the options were if I should continue holding over the weekend or I should close the trade. Anyway, I'll be breaking down all these 20 pairs right now, but I just want to recap on this market. What do I think about this market right now? I still believe this market will continue selling. At the point of asking you guys that question, I was actually even confused on what to do exactly, but I decide that anytime I'm really in doubt, I will just continue to set and forget and wait for the final result, right? So I'm still holding this trade. I'll continue to hold this trade until final results, right? So that is the first market, NZD card. I'll be holding that trade for next week. I'll still be holding this trade until final result, right? Set and forget the final result. Next pair we have, let's see, GBP card. Let's look at the daily time frame. Let's start from there. All right. So from last week, I was explaining how this area of interest was both the weekly and the daily area of interest, right? But price now has come back to this area again. If you watch last week's setups, right, I told you guys that I didn't need market to just shift structure. I need a little bit more price action here, which is pretty much what happened this week. So I believe that this new week we might have the move to the upside, right? So let's just analyze. Let's see what we have in general. All right. So now this area of interest, let me remove one because we have rejected from both area of interest. This one below is the weekly area of interest, and let me show you guys first before we continue. If you look on the weekly time frame, you can clearly see that right here we had one rejection, as you can see, right? Right here we had another rejection, right here. We had another one and another one right here. So we had about 4 rejections from this area on the weekly. So that's very good. Now, weekly time frame is actually still bearish, right? It's actually still bearish, but EMA is at least holding it as support. So, I mean, it's still pretty much bullish, and we are above this weekly area of interest. And the last week was pretty much a doji. So that is just a sign that last week really did not have a lot of movement. Even on my trade, NZD card, we did not really move for 4 days. Last week was pretty much a doji, right? So now coming over to the daily time frame. Now on the daily time frame, let me remove this so that we'll see what we have. Now, daily time frame is actually bullish, right? Why is that bullish? Because this right here is the highest point or the higher high, right? And the higher low for this higher high, you have to just trace it all the way back. And once you see a curve, that right there is the higher low, right? So now price did not break under this line. Price just had a deeper retracement, and now we are having an engulfing. This is a very, very strong signal, right? It's a very strong signal. Now, what does this show us? It shows that when price was coming back to area of interest, it had a lot of volume, momentum coming to the area. But if you look right here, you can see that 3 days was almost like a doji, and on Friday, again, we had a very strong move like this to the upside. So this Friday candle was the price action that happened only on Friday was more than the price action that happened on Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday combined, right? So that's crazy. So that is a very good signal. Okay, all right. So now let's go over to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, now 4-hour time frame, you can argue if this is bullish or if it is bearish, right? Because you might either count this as a structure point or not count it as a structure point. In this case, what do I do? Right? What I believe could happen is a retracement back into this level and entries to buy all the way to like the daily structure point, which is right here, right? So that's what I believe could happen. And but I'm not really sure if I want to enter there. Let's look at the 1 hour. Okay, 1 hour time frame is actually bullish right now. Okay, that is exactly what I'm going to do. That is exactly what I'm going to do. I'll wait for a retracement back into this level to potentially buy all the way to this level, right? So I'll either take my profit as 1:2 or I'll hold all the way to this level. So I'll decide on that on the Telegram channel. I'll let you guys know what I'm doing, right? I always do let you guys know what I'm doing. So to join the Telegram channel is very easy. Just come over to the channel right here, click on this link. You will see a link right here. Just click on it. If you click on it, once it loads up, you will see this link that says Telegram. This one right here. If you click on it, it will just simply take you to the Telegram channel right here. Right? Everything I do, I let you guys know. Gold. Let's look at gold. All right, gold. Um, I was predicting buys on gold right here, but market structure shifted bearish, right? So let me explain what happened here. Let me explain what happened here first before we look at what we have on gold. So this right here, market was bullish at the time because this right here was a higher high, and this right here was the higher low on gold, right? I was expecting that price will come back into this level right here before breaking this low and just pretty much start going bullish, right? Hence this drawing right here, as you can see. But once price was coming back into this area, it just shifted structure bearish. So making this now the new lower low, right? And this now the new lower high, making gold bearish. So price, we are still above area of interest, so we can't really sell from this level right here. So I was waiting for price to clearly be under area of interest, which was this right here, making this now the new what? Lower low right here, and the lower high for that is this one right here. Now all we needed was a retracement into this level and an engulfing to sell. So that is how this trade came about. It was very clean on the 1 hour time frame. Let me show you guys. All right, so coming over to the 1 hour time frame, what I just saw was a very clean break, retracement, and an engulfing right here. But I didn't really enter there. I entered on this second engulfing, and then on the next candle after the engulfing, stop loss above this high, above area of interest, and target one is 2 risk reward ratio. That was a banger trade, but I didn't really post this particular one. So let us see what we have on gold this week. All right, gold right now is still currently bearish. Oh, yes. Gold right now is still bearish on the daily time frame. On the 4 hour time frame, gold is actually still bearish. So I still believe that gold could continue selling this week, right? All we need is a clean break and retest to sell potentially. So I'm thinking something like this. You can get a break and retest under this level. If you can get a break and retest under this level, we could actually sell gold. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be entering gold this week anyways. Next pair, we have GPBUSD. Let us see what we have on the market. Alright, GBP I think is a very similar price action to NZD card, right? But let us see what we have. Let me delete everything and see the market a little bit more clearer. Now, from this time frame, this is the daily time frame. Market was bearish, but right now market is actually bullish. So I will explain it. Let me explain what I mean. So starting from here, this was the highest point price was, right? If this was the highest point price was, that was the what? Higher high, right? This right here was the higher low for this higher high. Higher high, higher low. As soon as we broke under, this became the new lower low, and this was the lower high for that. And any price action within this level is still a what? Is still a bearish market until we break above or below. So as we see here, we had a break below. So this is now the new lowest point, lower low, obviously. And the lower high for that is where? Well, if you don't know, you just trace it. As soon as you see a curve, then that right there is the lower high. And now we just broke above that level, making this now the new higher high, and this now the higher low. So this market structure is on the daily time frame is actually bullish, right? Now let's see how it looks on the weekly. On the weekly time frame, it's actually still bearish because the overall market structure is this one right here, which is the lowest point, and the lower high for that is this right here. So whatever price action is happening within here is still a bearish market structure. So weekly is bearish, daily is bullish. Well, we at least need 4 hour to be in the direction of the daily time frame for us to pay attention to the market. Now, let us see what the time frame is saying. Now, the 4 hour time frame is currently bullish, as you can tell, right? So I'll draw it again. This right here was the lowest point, right? And the lower high for that was this one right here. And as soon as we broke above, this became the new higher high, and this right here the new higher low. As you can see from EME, you can clearly see it was bearish, and right now it's shifting bullish. Okay, so now let's look for an area of interest on the daily time frame. So let's look for an area of interest. The area of interest I can see might be this one right here. Let me look closely to see what we have. So we had one rejection right here, somewhat of it too, but I'll not count it. One rejection, two rejection right here, very clear, right? When we are here, we sold down strongly because we are under area. When we are above, we bought off strongly because we are above area, right? Same thing here. When we are below, we sold down strongly, and price reacted from that level when we are above. And right now, price is technically still above, but is a very tight one, right? It's a very, very tight one. So daily and 4 hour is bullish. What will make more sense is to buy the market, but the market structure on the 1 hour time frame is actually still bearish, right? It's actually still bearish because this right here is the lower low and this is the lower high. So whatever price action is happening is still a bearish market. For us to be interested in buying, we need price to actually break above this level and have a clean break and retest above here to continue buying. I'm not even sure where to, if I'm really going to add this pair for this week. It's still a little bit confusing, right? But this might actually be the final take profit target on this market, right? So I'll just keep it close just to monitor and see, but I'm not 100% sure that this market could actually play out, because this doji right here, we expect a retracement to the downside. And if that retracement happens, then the market structure will just continue bearish, right? It's like it's all over the place at the moment. But again, I'll update you guys on the Telegram channel to know what to do next. But I believe that this market might still end up buying or end up selling. So the bias is not very clear, the way we want it to be, right? So next pair, NZD/USD. Let us see what we have. Okay, NZD/USD daily time frame is, well, still bullish, right? Daily time frame is still bullish. Weekly time frame is, well, let's see. Weekly time frame is, well, you can call it bearish or you can call it bullish. In my case, what will I call it now? I think I'll still call it bullish, but it can be arguable, right? I believe that this market this last week. Notice how this last week. Let me show you guys. Notice how this last week was a doji. This last week was a doji. That again is just telling us that last week did not really have a lot of volume, right? Last week was really not making a decisive move. That's how I entered NZD card for 4 days, and it pretty much was at break even for 4 days. So what do I expect from this area? Well, we don't necessarily like when there's a doji at area of interest on the weekly time frame, right? As you can see from NZD/USD, that is telling us that we might actually even sell to the downside, right? It's showing that the buying pressure has been exhausted and we might actually start selling to the downside, right? That's just the information on the weekly. Let's see what the daily is saying. Now, daily time frame technically is still bullish because this right here is the higher high and this right here is the higher low, right? Now, 4 hour time frame. All right, 4 hour time frame in this case is actually currently bearish, right? 4 hour time frame on NZD/USD is actually currently bearish. But will I enter right now? Not exactly, right? So what makes sense to me is when we break under this low again, right? I need it to be clearly bearish. I need EMA to actually be shifting very clearly, right, for me to sell. So I'm actually pretty interested in this market for sales next week, right? But I need like a clean break and retest to sell to potentially this level right here, if possible, right? To potentially this level right here. Let's say I looked on the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, 1 hour time frame is actually still bullish, right? We need 1 hour time frame to shift bearish again and break under this low for me to be interested. So I'm interested in NZD USD this week for sales. All right. What do we have next? Euro NZD. Let's delete what we have on the chart and let's go to the daily time frame. All right, daily time frame not so clean, but is bearish, right? Or even bullish, right? That's what I mean by it's not so clean. This right here was the higher high, and where will be the higher low for that? Probably here. So this market might actually be bullish. So let's call it bullish. Bullish on the daily, on the weekly. Let's see. Weekly is actually bearish, right? Weekly is actually bearish. This right here is the lower low. This right here is the lower high, right? Now, 4 hour time frame. 4 hour time frame is actually currently well bullish, but I actually do believe that this market could even end up selling, right? To the downside, right? The area of interest this is like a 4 hour minor area of interest, right? Not too clean to me, right? But I believe this market could actually end up selling. GBP USD next pair. Let us see what we have there. GBP USD last week buyers, I was calling for buys, but I was waiting for a retracement back into area to buy, right? Okay, now we are currently at area of interest and we bought on Friday very well, right? So that will be the engulfing. So let's see what market structure is. Market structure is actually bullish, right? And we have a very strong area of interest, as you can see right here, multiple rejections from that area. All right, so now weekly time frame. Let's see. If you come over to the weekly time frame, we are also bullish on the weekly time frame. Now let's go over to the 4 hour to see what we have there. Now 4 hour was bearish coming into area, and now we shifted structure bullish. So I believe we shifted structure bullish to the upside, right? So I believe we could have a minor retracement to around this level or thereabouts to buy. So let's see how it will look on the 1 hour time frame, the entry time frame. 1 hour time frame, we still need that retracement to buy, but 1 hour time frame is not too clean for me. It's not so clean. We have a minor trend line around here that just got broken, as you can see, right? Again, the point where I'm expecting the retracement is around this level and is in line together with the trend line, right? Anyway, so that is what makes sense on GBP USD to potentially buy. I don't know if I'm adding it for this week, so let me just keep it close. GBP AUD next pair. GBP AUD. Overall market direction seems to be selling, right? So that is the first thing I noticed, right? But the market structure right here is what? Well, actually, is still bullish, right? Market structure actually is still bullish just because of this high and this low, right? But I'm not going to be ignoring this overall market direction for now, right? Just because that's what I've noticed. The first thing that is the first thing I've noticed. Now let's see the weekly time frame. Now weekly time frame, as you can tell, is actually bearish, and now the 4 hour time frame. Now the 4 hour time frame is actually currently bullish, right? 4 hour time frame is actually currently bullish. I do believe that this market maybe could end up buying, right, from here all the way to at least these structural points right here. Okay, so here's my final thought process on GBP AUD, right? So let me show you what we have now. So daily time frame, if you look at the daily time frame, market structure is actually bullish, right? And why is that? Because this right here is a higher high and the higher low for that is this right here, right? Great. Now, if daily is bullish, we still need the 4 hour to be bullish. And if you come over to the 4 hour time frame, you will notice that this right here, let me come a little bit closer. This right here was the lowest point price went during that retracement, during this entire retracement, right? And this right here is the lower high for that. And market just shifted structure bullish. Now that's what the strategy says, right? We need at least 2 time frame in sync to be interested in this market. So I will be interested in this market, and let us see how I will play this market. Now the EME, well, technically the EME is still very in a decisive place right now, right? They have not really shifted bullish just yet, right? Now coming over to the 1 hour time frame as well, you can see that the 1 hour time frame is now breaking highs, right? It's breaking highs, creating higher highs and higher lows, right? I believe that we could have a retracement right here to buy. If you can have a new break and retest like this, I'll actually be interested in buying. So I believe that this market will actually continue buying. So I'll keep it as part of the pairs for this week, right? I'll make a decision about that particular pair later. All right, next pair we have Euro AUD daily time frame currently well, still bullish. Weekly time frame is actually bearish. I'll show you. So this right here was the lower low, or this right here was the lower low, and price is currently under that area. So we are clearly bearish. Now 4 hour time frame. I don't like this market, by the way. So next pair, Euro USD. Let us see what we have there. Euro USD daily time frame is bullish, right? Daily time frame is bullish. Weekly time frame. Now weekly time frame, I'm actually seeing like weekly time frame is at a resistance level right here, right? As you can see, price have actually rejected this area multiple times before. So this right here, price actually rejected to the downside, right? Same thing around here, price got to this area, rejected to the downside. Same thing around this level again, right? Price rejected to the downside, and price is currently at that level, right? I can't just expect that this market could be buying once we are at weekly area of interest, right? So we are at weekly resistance level, and I believe that this market, even if it's bullish, can actually start selling, right? So but let's just read the market structure to see exactly what we have. So daily is actually still bullish, right? Now I'll actually be leaving only this weekly resistance level because it's a very clean area, right? So I don't think I'll be interested in Euro USD this week, right? We have already had the rejection, except we are selling. Except we are selling, I'll be interested. And I believe this market could actually end up selling. I believe this market could actually end up selling from here. But GPBUSD, what am I expecting? I'm expecting buys from GPBUSD. Is it this difference? I don't really like those difference when GBPUSD and EURUSD are not going in the same direction, right? So, but I explained why they're actually going in different direction. So let's look at GBPUSD again just to refresh. So GBPUSD is above area of interest, above strong area of interest. As you can see, daily time frame is bullish. We had a strong engulfing candle right here. Weekly time frame, but weekly time frame is actually bullish, right? We somehow have a resistance around that level, but it's not so clean compared to Euro USD, right? And then 4 hour time frame is also bullish. So NZD next pair, let us see what we have there. Now NZD daily time frame, we have a very strong resistance level right here, as you can see. All right, that's one information. Second information we have is that we have a very strong rejection from that resistance level on the daily time frame, right? And market structure, well, technically it's still bullish at the moment. Now weekly time frame, technically is still also bullish, right? And the 4 hour time frame, the 4 hour time frame is also, well, you can argue if it's bullish or bearish, right? But for this thing, for the market to be clearly bearish, we actually do need a break under this low right here, right? For the market to actually be bearish, that will be showing us that that weekly resistance will hold, right? So this is what I think will happen. So we need a break and a retracement under this level to sell. So now let me explain why I finished calling the market bullish, but I'm planning on selling, right? If you come over to the daily again, right? Now, if coming over to the daily, the market is bullish because this right here is the higher high and this right here is the higher low, right? Now, if that is a higher high and higher low, that means that this market structure is still bullish. But we have a very strong resistance level right there. Now, if you look at our game plan right here, we are looking for markets to actually have a new break, a retracement under this level to sell, right? And if that happens, it means that we'll shift this low. It means that this low will get broken. And once that low gets broken, that will automatically make the daily time frame bearish, right? And if that time frame is bearish, automatically the 4 hour time frame will also shift bearish, right? And EME will also be above holding price as resistance. So automatically we'll have that two time frame in sync. We'll have that two time frame in sync once price actually have this break and retest, right? Then on the 1 hour time frame, we'll start looking for our entries, right? So I believe that this market could actually have this break and retest for us to sell. So NZD JPY, I'll be adding it for this week. GPP JPY, let us see what we have. Daily time frame is technically bullish, right? Technically bullish. I'll show you guys the clearer picture. As you can see, that is the highest point price is right now, right? So we have a very bullish market on GPP JPY. Now, another thing I will notice is that this highs right here is respected by price multiple times. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 times very recently. Now let's see how the weekly looks. Obviously, I expect it to be bullish. As you can see, that is the highest point price is. Now, 4 hour time frame. Let's see what the market is telling us. Now, coming over to the 4 hour time frame, I believe this market could actually continue buying just because it has been buying for long, right? And for us to continue buying, I think price just simply have to have a clear break and retest above this level right here to buy GBP JPY, right? So GBP JPY, that's what I'm expecting for GBP JPY. Okay, so next pair we have AUD card. Let's see what we have. Daily time frame is actually still bullish, right? Weekly time frame also bullish, right? So let me look for an area of interest first before we continue. So we just have this high right here. Might be valid, might not be valid. Let's see how the 4 hour looks. 4 hour time frame, I don't know. This is more like a 4 hour area of interest. If you look to the left, you can see that the rejections were way more cleaner on the 4 hour time frame. We came here, we rejected down strongly, same thing here, same thing here, and same thing here. Now, if I go over to where current price action is right now, you can see that we are currently around that level, right? And we are above the area. So we expect that this market could actually continue buying, but I don't think I'll be adding it for this week, right? The reason for that is just simply because we have better markets to pay attention to instead of AUD card. Next pair, AUD USD. Let us see. So AUD USD, let's go over to the daily time frame and see what we have. I'm pretty sure that is very similar price action to AUD card that we just finished analyzing. Very similar price action. We had a very strong level right here, and we are currently above that level. I do believe that this market could maybe hold it as support, hold market as support, hold price as support to continue buying, or if you start trading under that level, then we'll now use this area of interest as a resistance to continue selling, right? So it still depends on what market does, right? But for now, I believe that if we want to buy this market on the 4-hour time frame, we have to wait for a cleaner break and retest above this level. Let me show you what I'm seeing. You have to wait for a cleaner break and retest above this level if you're looking to buy. If that happens, break, retest, engulfing to buy, then we can buy. If that doesn't happen and we have a clean break and retest under this level, then we can end up selling. So you still have two buyers for this week, right? That is AUD USD. USD card, daily time frame. Now USD card daily time frame is actually currently bearish, right? But we have an area that has been respected by price multiple times, right? I'm not going to be forcing this trade if it's not there, right? But one thing I've noticed is that this market has been bearish for a very long time, right? That's one observation. Now, weekly time frame, let us see what we have. On the weekly time frame, you can see that this last week was, let me remove this part to look at it clearly. You can see that this last week was still a bearish week, but more like a doji week, right? More like it did not have very high volume compared to its previous weeks, right? As you can see. So that means that price is at least having some form of reaction from that area, right? Now let's go over to the 4-hour time frame to see what we have. Now 4-hour time frame is actually still, well, I'll still call it okay, it's bullish, but it's not still clearly bullish, right? For it to be clearly bullish, it still needs to break above this high, and I need price to be trading above area of interest for this market to buy if you are looking to buy. But right now, I still believe this market is still bearish, so it's still indecisive, right? The overall market direction I think will happen is a break and retest above this level to actually buy, right? But do I think it's going to happen? Well, it still depends on if it's going to happen this week or not, right? But I'm not adding it for this week. I believe that this market maybe could even continue selling right now, right? AUD JPY next pair, daily time frame, well, as you can see, is at the highest high. Not interested. Euro JPY, pretty much the exact same price action. Next pair, USD JPY. Okay, USD JPY has a little bit more price action that we can work with. So let's see. Daily time frame is actually bullish, right? Let's be sure. Yes, actually bullish. Weekly time frame, let's see if it's bullish or bearish. You can argue if it's bullish or bearish. In this case, I'll just call it bearish, right? So that the 4-hour time frame should at least be bullish for us to buy. Now the 4-hour time frame currently, let's see what we have. Currently is actually bearish, so we don't have two time frame in sync, so we'll no longer be interested in this market. Euro GBP, let's see how the daily time frame looks. Okay, not so clean, very too much market structures. I think we have better pairs to pay attention to for this week instead, right? GBP CHF, let's see. Okay, all right, GBP CHF. I do believe that this market could actually have a break and retest above this area to buy. I've actually been waiting for this trade for a very long time now, right? But let's see. Let me just look at this market very well. The weekly time frame is actually still bearish. Daily time frame is actually bullish right now, right? We have an area of interest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections from that area of interest, right? Okay, but we are still below area of interest, by the way, so we cannot assume that it will buy right now. Then 4-hour time frame, technically is, well, I'll still argue that it's bearish, right? It's actually bullish, as you can see, because this might still be a structural point, but I don't like this kind of structural point. I need it to clearly be above area, right? Clearly be above area, break all these highs, right? I don't need these highs. I don't need price to be around these highs. and sell again, just like it did previously. So I need it to clearly be trading above those highs for us to buy. So I believe this market could buy, but I don't think I'll add it for this week just because we have better markets to pay attention to. CAD JPY, which will be the last pair. CAD JPY, again, not so clean price action. So let's look at the markets we are paying attention to for this week. NZD card is the first market because I am still in this market. Now, from all my observation after analyzing the market, I do believe that NZD card might actually still end up hitting stop loss, right? I still believe that this market could actually end up hitting stop loss, but I'm not going to be resisting the trade just simply because I am following my rules. My rule simply says as I enter the trade, there's nothing else to do except waiting for the final result, which is either stop loss or take profit, right? So that is the first market. Well, that will right now we are still currently at break even, right? But I am seeing clear bearish signs, as you can see. I am seeing clear bearish signs, so it might still actually end up in profit. It depends, right? The market is unpredictable sometimes. So that is the first market. Second market we have is GBP card. GBP card, we have been waiting for price to get back to this area right here. As you can see, price is currently around that area, and the area of interest is a very strong one because we have multiple rejections from that area of interest. Now, price is bullish, sorry, on the daily time frame. As you can tell, this right here is the higher low, and price has come back to area of interest, had 3 days of slowdown, and is now having an engulfing. So I believe that this market could actually end up buying next week, right? So all we are looking for is just a minor retracement back into this level to buy, right? If you even have cleaner structures above this level, above EME, I will actually be more interested in buying GPP card this new week, right? Next pair we have is NZUSD. So NZUSD, the market structure currently is bearish, right? So let's see the daily again. Daily is actually bullish. I think this price action is very similar to Euro USD, right? It's very similar to Euro USD. We have a very strong area of interest right here, right? I believe this market could actually end up selling. So I think we should just call this a counter trend trade setup, right? I'll explain why. We'll just call this a counter trend trade setup because I believe that this daily time frame is actually still bullish because this right here is the higher high and this is the higher low, right? But the market structure is clear, is very clean, and I like it, right? So I do believe that if you have a cleaner break under this level and a retracement, we could actually sell. So I'll call this one a counter trend trade setup, right? So if I'm doing that, I think we might just add Euro USD for this week as another counter trend trade setup. So I will explain that now. So Euro USD daily time frame is actually bullish, but if you look to the left, you can see that we had multiple rejections from that area of interest, right? Which is also a weekly resistance level. If you look to the left, you can see that, right? Good. Now price came back, have a major retracement, and had 2 weeks of slowdown. And this last week was actually more bearish than the previous week, reacting from that same area of interest. Right now, daily now, 4 hour time frame has actually had some form of left head right shoulder. As you can see, EMA is now shifting bearish, right? So I do believe that this market could actually end up selling this new week. So let's see how to look on the 1 hour time frame. So 1 hour time frame is actually currently bullish. So we still need 1 hour time frame to shift bearish for us to be interested. So I will actually still decide if I'm really going to be trading Euro USD because it's not as clean as NZD USD, right? I'll still decide on that on the Telegram channel. I'll let you guys know, right? So the next pair we have is GBP AUD. So GBP AUD, I believe that this market could actually end up buying as well, right? So we had, this is more like a 4 hour area of interest, right? This is more like a 4 hour area of interest. As you can see, we had one rejection right here, 2, 3, 4, 5 rejections. Coming over to where current market price is, you can see that we had multiple years even of slowdown. As you can see, 8 days price has pretty much been slowing down around this level, and it's now breaking structure to the upside. Now I believe that this next week we could actually start having that volume in the market where markets actually start breaking to the upside. As we were selling, we slow down. Now we s- as we are selling, we were coming down with very full momentum, right? Then 8 days of slowdown. I believe that now that we are breaking highs, I believe that this market could actually end up buying. I have traded this pattern time and time again. That's why I'm actually feeling confident in buying this market, right? So you might actually decide if you want to take this trade or not, but this is my own perspective on GBP AUD. Next pair we have is NZD JPY. NZD JPY, I believe that this market structure is clean, right? If I'm going to be looking at this, I'll be seeing a left head, and once we have that break and retest, daily time frame and the 4-hour time frame will turn bearish for us to sell. So I'll need a retracement back into that level to potentially sell. And the last pair potentially is GBP JPY. If you can, it has just pretty much been bullish. GPJPY has pretty much just been bullish, right? So I believe that for us to just continue being bullish, we need a break and retest above that high, which is right here, to buy. So I do believe that since these two pairs are JPY pairs, I believe that only one could actually give us the opportunity to buy or to sell. It depends, right? So that pretty much this is pretty much the market I'm paying attention to, and I'll create a shorter version of this video to kind of explain it a little bit more deeper, and then I'll let you guys know what it is on the Telegram. So I'll see you guys on the next week's setup.